I like that energy. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very excited to be here on this very historic day. And I want to thank our students here. That's our next generation of explorers. Give it up for the students. My name is Leland Melvin. I'm the Associate Administrator for Education and a former astronaut, and I'm here to help inspire that next generation of explorers. We're here at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which is the lead center for planetary science, and we all know about this fantastic vehicle, Curiosity, that's on the Martian surface right now. But before we get into the program, I just want to take a moment to honor a fallen hero, Commander Neil Armstrong, who passed this weekend. And Neil was the first human being to plant his foot on another surface, on the lunar surface. And we're here today to help honor his legacy. So the students in this room can help honor his legacy by being the best that you can be. His family wants you to do everything to be inspired, to be motivated, to maybe that one of you one day will be walking on the Martian surface. So let's honor him by doing everything that we can. But before we get into the rest of the show, I want to introduce my big boss, Administrator Charlie Bolden, who is already going to give you a little welcome. So we have a little video clip coming from him, but he's also been the first voice to come from Mars, which came down yesterday. So if we could roll the video with Administrator Bolden.
I'm NASA Administrator Charlie Bolden with greetings and best wishes for today's event. I'm sorry I'm not able to join you in person. Millions of people around the world shared in our excitement earlier this month as the Curiosity rover defied the odds, demonstrated cutting-edge technology flawlessly, and landed on the surface of Mars. It was a great day for NASA, but even more importantly, it helped people in the U.S. and around the world to share a common moment of accomplishment when the heights of human possibility were demonstrated. We explore because as humans, we have to. It's part of our nature, and it helps us to push ourselves to do what seemed impossible yesterday, but today is reality. Mars has always fascinated us, and the things Curiosity tell us about it will help us learn about whether or not life was possible there and what future human explorers can expect there. Its science instruments are like nothing we've ever sent to another planet, and we can't wait to start getting results. The first pictures have already been absolutely spectacular. Curiosity is a precursor to human arrival at the Red Planet, and right now, we're developing the rockets and spacecraft and technologies to get us there. In the meantime, there's so much more we need to learn about our neighbor in the solar system. Today, the music of will.i.am has already provided the first song on our playlist for Mars exploration. It's crucial that we inspire the next generation to help developing more capabilities to explore, and that we provide opportunities like this where scientists and engineers can share what they do and the passion they have for making our world a better place. It's important that every student knows science, technology, engineering, and math can be fun. They can take us out of this world, and they can open unexpected doors of discovery, and everyone can take part. So enjoy today's events, and take advantage of the highly trained people you're with to find out more about careers in exploration. Finally, let me thank you, Will, for your continued passion for NASA and for all you do to keep the next generation reaching for the stars.
All right, give it up for Administrator Bolden. So that was a historic moment, and now we're ready for another historic moment. The first time that a song has come from the Martian surface. And again, this song is for you guys. It's all about you guys today and being inspired and motivated to lead that charge to be those explorers. So the next person I want to bring up to the stage needs no introduction, but I'll give him one anyway. His name is will.i.am. He's a singer, songwriter, and he's one of the most creative people that I know. But also, he is so passionate about making sure that our kids have an opportunity, all kids have an opportunity to live their dreams, whether they want to be astronauts or artists or musicians or ball players or whatever you want to do. He's inspired to ensure that you guys are inspired. So without further ado, would you please come up to the stage? will.i.am. Give it up for will.i.am.
Everybody, this is, I can't even, there's no words to explain how amazing this is. These kids here from Boyle Heights, the same neighborhood I'm from. And this time last year, I did a program on ABC called I Am First. And it was to inspire kids to take an interest in STEM. And just to say, hey, kids, you should want to become scientists. I'm going to put this program in Roosevelt. Doesn't mean that kids are going to want to join that program. So I thought of making a television program to inspire kids on how cool science is, to show that my world appreciates the scientists and the engineers that give us the tools to express ourselves and, entertain the world. Without scientists, we wouldn't have these tools. There would be no music if it wasn't for people like Nikola Tesla.
Right.
It wouldn't be radio, I'm sorry, if it wasn't for people like Nikola Tesla. It wouldn't be record players and CDs if it wasn't for all the engineers that, champion that technology and passionate about connectivity. And so I appreciate them to the point where I use my own money to make that TV program to inspire kids in my neighborhood. That movie, Waiting for Superman, was about our neighborhood. And it doesn't have to be that way. Roosevelt changes when you guys become Mark Zuckerberg's, Dave Lavery's, Jack Dorsey's, and it's not impossible.
That's right.
It's only impossible if no one brings those tools to you guys. So now, he got a champion in me to bring the tools to you guys to become the next Leland's.
Not just you, but everyone in this room. We are here for you guys.
Yes.
Because it takes a community, it takes a village to raise a child. And I know I had a lot of hands in my development. A lot of people were developing me. What got you inspired?
Really my mom, she sent me to Brentwood Science Magnet. So early on, I got, I don't know what gave her the idea to send me an hour away out of our neighborhood, but that was brave of her to think of sending me an hour away from home. I was 7 years old going to a Brentwood Science Magnet school, and I attended schools outside of my area for 12 years of my life. And my teachers, Mr. Wright, Miss Montez, they encouraged me. So that encouragement goes a long way.
Yeah, my encouragement was my mother gave me a chemistry set, and I mixed these two chemicals together, and I created the most fantastic explosion. I mean, fantastic, huge, orange smoke, flames, all that. And then I had a hand in my development.
I wanted a chemistry set. I remember I told my mom, I was like, I want a chemistry set for Christmas. And then my uncle, Roger, was going to give me a chemistry. You remember, Mom? I wanted a chemistry set. And I didn't get one, though.
It's not too late, though.
No, so I wanted a chemistry set, and then I wanted a piano. I was like, Mom, when am I going to get my piano for Christmas? I never got it, though, but it was that the drive of wanting something you couldn't have that keeps you going, right? You kids in Boyle Heights and outside, communities like Boyle Heights, you want something that you can't have, but doesn't mean you won't be able to get it if you just stay focused and surround yourself with people that have that same drive to change, your lives. A lot of times, far too many people want to escape the neighborhood to the point where the neighborhood stays a ghetto. Everyone wants to get out of it. Man, I can't wait to get up out of this ghetto.
Right.
But that's the reason why I want to go back to Boyle Heights, so that you guys don't ever think about leaving it, but changing it. Like, we have to change communities like Boyle Heights, and you're going to change it via STEM and STEAM.
And if you think about music and math, those are two true absolutes that use both the right and left side of your brain. So if you know music, you know math. And if you know math, you know music. And if those two things are in you, you can do anything. Your creativity, your innovation, your curiosity. I mean, that's what we have, these scientists and engineers, like Adam right here, who helped develop the EDL mission to get this Mars Curiosity rover on the ground. So that curiosity, he's going to tell you a little story later on about what it took to keep him in school and the things that he had to do to keep going. So never give up. People told me that I couldn't be an astronaut. I said, why? Why can't I be an astronaut? Well, because you weren't in the military. Well, because you weren't this or weren't that. it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the drive inside of you. Whatever you want to be, whatever you dream, you can do if you put your mind to it, right?
That's right.
Is that right, students? Yeah. Oh, come on, that's weak. Come on now, give me a little more. Is that right? Yeah. That's more like it. That's more like it.
Yep. I'm a little nervous because my mom's in the audience.
Is your mom in the audience?
Yes, she is.
Hey, Mom. But hey, guess what? It's about that time.
Yes, it is.
We have something, this is the first time that a song has ever come from another planet. And I think there's a guy with a mohawk.
Hey, you know how famous that guy is?
I know, man. Yeah, that's all right. We got Mr. Bobek there, and we thank you for everything you've done to help inspire and motivate. One of my friends was at the school bus the other day, and there was a little kid had a mohawk and a star on the side of his head. And I wonder where he got that from. It was you, man. So you've inspired and motivated kids just by being there. So let's hear this song.
Yes, let's do that. I've been waiting, for a year now.
Yeah.
I've been keeping this under my belt and not telling anybody.
What kind of under your belt?
Kind of. But it was so hard to not want to, just blur it out the first couple of months. But
Right.
now it finally is a reality, and it's coming just any second now.
Here we go.
So,
Roll the song. Here we go.
Why they say the sky is the limit? When I seen the footprints on the moon, why do they say the sky is the limit? When I seen the footprints on the moon, and I know the sky might be high, but baby it ain't really that high. And I know that Mars might be far, but baby it ain't really that far. Let's reach for the stars. Reach for the stars. Let's reach for the stars. Reach for the stars. Reach for the stars. Reach for the stars. Let's reach for the stars. Let me see your hands up. Let me see your hands up.
Ain't nobody hold us back. They can't hold us down. They can't keep us trapped. Tie us to the ground. Told your people that we don't mess around. When we turn it up, please don't turn us down. We gon' turn it up louder than we was before. Like the lion out the jungle, you can hear us roar. When a lion hear us like the sonic blaster, flying just like NASA, outer space masters. Hands up, reach for the sky. Hands up, get 'em up high. Hands up if you really feel alive. Live it up, live it up.
Why they say the sky is the limit? When I seen the footprints on the moon, why do they say the sky is the limit? When I seen the footprints on the moon, and I know the sky might be high, but baby it ain't really that high. And I know that Mars might be far, but baby it ain't really that far. Let's reach for the stars.
Reach for the stars.
Let's reach for the stars.
Reach for the stars.
Let's reach for the stars.
Reach for the stars.
Let's reach for the stars. Let me see your
it up for Will I Am. Come on out here. Whenever I hear that, I get so inspired. And what was it about this song that, you know, when you saw the launch, what was it that just made you want to use the orchestral pieces and the French horns and those kind of things to make this song?
Well, the first thing is when I was here last year and they said it was a possibility of having the song broadcasted back from Mars, the first thing that hit my head was I didn't want to do a song that was done on a computer.
Right.
I wanted to show human collaboration and have an orchestra there and something that would be timeless, where it's, you know, and translated in different cultures, not have like a hip hop beat or a dance beat. You know, a lot of times you think that people in my field aren't supposed to try to execute something classical or orchestral. So I wanted to break that,
Right.
you know, stigma and do my interpretation of an orchestral piece. So, you know, there was a 40-piece orchestra there, and a friend of mine helped me. It was so beautiful to see, you know, all the people from the orchestra there reading the sheet music, and it was in record plant in Hollywood, and you know, to see a big orchestra translate something that was in my head was so beautiful.
Right, right. So, do you have any students in here that have any questions? I think this young lady right here has a question, don't you? You don't have a question? Oh, come on. Anyone have a question for Will about the making of the song? Behind me. Okay, here you go. Say what your name is.
My
first
name
of all.
is Christina Cervantes, and I just wanted to ask you, like, what inspired you to, like, do all this and, like, show off what you're doing?
Good question.
Really, it was my neighborhood and people in my neighborhood encouraging me. That's where it started, really, was people in Boyle Heights, East LA, saying, "Hey, Willie, I heard you rapped. Dance for us. Show us your new dance moves." And then from there, it went, you know, it just grew. But just being acknowledged and encouraged goes a long way. So that really was the you know, the birth of, you know, my passion was just being encouraged by family and friends. And then no boundaries. You know, once you're encouraged, you don't see boundaries.
Right.
You know. So that's pretty much it. So that's why I want to try my hardest to encourage you guys to go beyond what they tell you you're supposed to do in Boyle Heights, or what you can do in Boyle Heights.
Have another question, Will?
Cynthia Arenas. My question is, what would you have said if the NASA would told you not to make the song? What would have been your reaction to it?
Oh, if NASA said we can't beam it back from Mars, I would have still been blessed that I came to JPL and hung out with scientists and people like Leland. You know, not every idea. If it's a good idea, doesn't mean it's not going to happen the time that you told them. If you're persistent, at one point in time, it would have happened. You know, I've been told no a trillion times, but that doesn't stop you. So if you know, the day that I came here and I presented the idea to the people at NASA, and they said no, it was not possible, I still would have went to my community and around the world and said, "Hey, I was chilling at NASA and I pitched an idea that they didn't like." You know, I still came to NASA.
Got another question back here.
My name is Jeffrey Marenko, and I want to know what gave you the idea to do this, to beam a song to Mars and bring it back.
So I had met Dean Kamen, and Dean Kamen has this program called US First, where he teaches kids from the ages 8 to 19 STEM, and they compete building robots every April in St. Louis. And I helped him with, you know, I told him I wanted to help him make US First louder. So I exhausted all my thoughts on how to, you know, make it loud in America. So the solution was to buy time on ABC. So I bought the time on ABC and made a TV program. And when you buy time and you put yourself in that position, it all lands on you if you don't if it doesn't happen. So I wanted to take the risk. So you use your own money. So I remember people on my team were like, you could risk $4 million. You could lose $4 million bucks. So I said, I'd rather risk losing $4 million to bring opportunity to the neighborhood I come from, because the only way people in Boyle Heights and communities like Boyle Heights are going to take an interest in STEM is if they think it's cool. So, that TV show was so successful that Charlie Bolden called me on the phone and said he wanted me to come to NASA to help them with their efforts in inspiring kids to care about STEM and space exploration. So I asked a question like, hey, what do you guys got coming up? They said, we have a rocket going to Mars. I said, hey, have you ever thought about putting a song on the rocket so when the rocket lands, it comes back to Earth? That's never happened before. And so they said, who's going to do the song? I was like, are you serious? Damn, that's dope.
My name's Arlene Cepeda. My question is, how do you feel when people tell you that you're an inspiration to them?
What was that question?
How do you feel when people tell you you're an inspiration to them?
I get emotional. I'm an emotional cat. So I get emotional, and but then it just reminds me of how responsible I have to be, Some people run away from responsibility. So it just helps me stay focused, that I know that people can be inspired by the things that I, involve myself in. And when I'm in the studio writing songs, I have to say, hey, I shouldn't say that. Even though a lot of times I want to say that, it keeps me responsible. Oprah Winfrey is a big inspiration to me. So when I met her and we became friends, it kept me balanced to where now I know I'm doing things for different, from what I thought I was just going to be doing them for. So it just keeps me level-headed when I hear things from the youth saying, you inspire me. So I can't go out and do some knucklehead stuff. So you guys actually bring me, it's reciprocal. So I may inspire you, you keep me balanced. Because if I didn't have you guys as foundation to say those things, I don't know what I would be getting into. So thanks.
My name is Bridget Alcaraz, and I wanted to ask, how anxious were you to know that when is your song going to be broadcasted into The Rover?
Say that again?
How anxious were you to know that your song was going to be broadcasted into The Rover?
Anxious? Mm-hmm. It was more, I didn't think it was real, Still to this day, right now, it seems surreal, But it's a real thing. And it should remind you guys that, after today, you're going to go home and life is going to be as it is. And you're going to have all these boundaries in front of you. And, reality is going to be telling you, society and reality is going to be telling you that you need to stay in this area. But you have to think beyond, because anything's possible with discipline. So you just have to discipline yourself on whatever passion, point of interest that you have, and surround yourself with friends and teachers like Mr. Legaspi, and you'll be able to do that. But it's not going to happen overnight. It didn't happen overnight for me. And I'm one of you guys, like, really. I was in Strata Courts yesterday. Seriously, I called my mom yesterday because I was like, wow, my song's going to be beamed back from Mars tomorrow. So I went to my old neighborhood to keep me balanced. Because I could be like, yeah, I'm in Mars, that's what's up. So I was like, let me go back to my neighborhood where I'm from and sit on the porch that I sat at.
Okay. Hey, I got a question for you guys. How many of you have smartphones in here? Raise your hands if you have a smartphone. How many of you ever played Angry Birds? How many of you ever played Angry Birds Space? Okay. Angry Bird Space, all right? Do you know that that game made $10 million in 3 days? And did you know that you're holding in your hand this little tool that you can program and make your own games, and you can get paid? You can pay for your college if you want to. So the thing that we're trying to teach our students to look at is not just being a user of the technology, be a developer of the technology. You can create your own things and use that to advance yourself, to advance your community, to advance your friends.
How many people are on Instagram?
Instagram.
Do you know that the people that started Instagram, this time last year, Instagram didn't exist, and there's only 14 of them, and they sold it for $1 billion? Real.
Yeah, what is right?
14 kids. They're younger than me. And I'm pretty young. Yeah, we're pretty young.
My name's Kimberly Ortega. How did you find what your passion was?
If it's real passion, your passion finds you. You know, if you're looking for it, then it's probably not passion. It's probably, you know, an obsession or something that's going to come and go when something else you think is your passion comes. So a lot of times, your passion finds you, and it's something you can't ignore. It's something you can't run from, and you find yourself, you're going to find yourself depressed if you don't follow that passion in the future. And so that means ignoring all the things that are going to get in the way of that passion becoming a reality. So you have to have the ability to see that far. Like, I shouldn't be hanging out with you because you are going to keep me from achieving this passion that I want to see real. So it takes you knowing yourself. And you knowing yourself really is, you know, getting your 5 closest friends that you have and then looking at their personality, and then that's a reflection of you. So if you don't like that combination of friends, then you probably should change friends. So, and then once you do that, you have like, you know, selection of friends that you aspire to be like, then you're going to find your passion somewhere in there.
One more question over here.
My name is Clarissa, and I want to ask, is there a message you want, like you did this song to send a message to someone or say something? Like, what was the whole point? Like, trying to send a message to someone?
So the point of the song is to remind people. It's not a point, but it's a reminder that anything is possible if you discipline yourself and dedicate yourself and stand for something. You know, every single person that's a part of NASA stood for something, and we have this wonderful technology, the phone you have in your hand, small computers. If it wasn't for their discipline and their relentless, you know, research and efforts, we wouldn't have these small computers. You know, so we don't have to be, I say we because I'm no different than you. We don't have to just end up in a hood. But it's a hard thing. The hardest thing is discipline. Everything else is easy.
Hey, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This is awesome. Good questions, students. All right. Okay, next up, we have some other really cool people. These were the people that actually built, designed, created, and landed Curiosity on the Martian surface. So I want to bring up 2 individuals. Adam Steltzner, he was part of the entry, descent, and landing team. Coming up, Adam. And I also want to bring up Mike Myers, who was also part of making this whole thing happen. So they're going to talk a little bit about their backgrounds, their careers, and also the science associated with Curiosity. All right. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, brother. Don't be shy, guys. Don't be shy.
Good afternoon. How you guys doing? So my name's Adam. I led the team that invented that wacky sky crane maneuver we used at the very end to land Curiosity. And I had a kind of maybe an unusual way to find myself here speaking to you about landing a 2,000-pound rover on Mars. I started out being interested in music, and Will and Leland mentioned that, you know, the connection between science, mathematics, engineering, music, the arts, they're all in there. They're all on the different parts of your brain, and using that whole brain of yours is not only is it super important for your life, but it feels great. And I discovered kind of late after high school, when I was playing music, that I was a little interested in physics and astronomy and the way that the world worked, and so started down that path, and that led me to being here. So again, as Will mentioned, you know, discipline. Once you find that thing that sort of lights the fire inside of you, if you're true to it and you work hard, it can take you some pretty amazing places.
I'm Michael Meyer, and I'm the lead scientist for the Mars program. And I think maybe the message today is that whatever path you're on, follow it, do the best that you can, because you never know where you'll end up. I was kind of a late bloomer. I flunked out of college and then decided that maybe it was a good idea to go to college. And I ended up starting as an engineer, moving into biology because I really like biology, getting a degree in oceanography, doing oceanography. Then my first real job was actually working in deserts. And so it was a pretty circuitous path to end up going from just being passionate about learning to going from oceans to deserts to now to the red planet. And part of this is we have a tremendous opportunity. It's only 50 years ago this year that we sent the first instruments out into space, out toward another planet. It's only 50 years that we've actually started exploration other than looking through telescopes from the very ground that we're standing on. And here we are, we have something on Mars with tremendous capability, trying to answer the question whether or not that red planet could have ever supported life. And with that, we're starting on a quest, a real scientific quest, to understand whether or not we're alone in the universe. And if that doesn't get you jazzed, I don't know what wouldn't.
That's pretty freaky. It's pretty crazy. So, do you guys got some questions you want to know about Curiosity? Not only your curiosity, but the big machine? Swing.
What is the goal for Curiosity?
It is going to a place called Gale Crater, and we're going there because it looks like it had water for a significant period of its time, and the whole goal is to determine whether or not it could have supported life. So the idea is by making the right measurements, exploring this whole region, we can get an idea of what ancient Mars was like when we think it was warmer and wetter, whether or not it actually could have supported microbial life. Part of if you've been looking at some of the images back here, one of the ones that really gets the scientific community excited is there's a close-up of all this layering on the base of Mount Sharp. And that layering, it's like taking a history book and putting it face down on the table, and each of those layers is a page of history. And so as we go and explore going up Mount Sharp, looking at each of those pages is going to tell us what was going on Mars at some point in time in the past, and whether or not it could have been a habitable place.
More questions?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Is Curiosity gonna stay there forever, or are we gonna bring it back? And when?
She stays there forever.
Well, I don't know.
Think
The
of
Air
her-
and Space Museum might bring it back one of these days.
You know, I once had a student ask me, will you leave it behind? Is that littering? And I thought about it for a while, and I said, no, I think of it as an art installation, right? As a gesture of our humanity, of our curiosity, of our interest about what's around the next corner. And we leave it there to remind ourselves about that.
I think you should get ready and go there and help check it out, right? With your curiosity. Other questions?
How long did it take you to build Curiosity, and did it take day and night?
Yeah, so it took a while. We started thinking about her, this big rover, the science instruments, almost 10 years ago. And actually wrenching her together took about 3 years. And there were periods of time when it was day and night. Not all of those 3 years, or not all of that 10 years, but there was maybe a good year all in where it was day and night, 7 days a week. Yep.
Just to add to that a little bit, it starts with the concept and the community getting behind it and deciding what the real goals of the mission should be. So we actually had the first, what should Curiosity be, back in 2001. Yeah. And it took 3 years before we got what we thought was a reasonable plan that would then, we could go forward and actually start really building things.
Cool.
So do you guys think that you guys could have made Curiosity like better in any way?
That's the beauty about making anything, is you always know, by the time you're done with it, you always know how you could make it better. And absolutely, there's things we could do to make her better. And next time we go there, we'll do that.
Other questions? Over there.
Like you said that if you leave it, it's going to stay there forever. Will it ever run out of energy or battery?
Yeah, one of the great things about the way she's powered, she uses little pieces of plutonium that are decaying. Plutonium's a radioactive material, and it puts off a lot of heat. And she uses that heat and turns it into electricity. That heat will always be there, really forever. It decays and puts off less heat, so she'll have less and less and less power. But she'll always have a little bit. Someday, she may not have enough to operate her instruments, and someday she may not even have enough to talk on the radios to us. But it potentially could be a long time. She could be speaking to us for quite some time.
What kind of instrument do you guys use to make her?
It actually has 10 instruments. I'm not sure I should list all of them, but one of the things that really makes it unique is that it's an analytical laboratory. So there are 2 instruments inside the rover that actually do the same kind of things that you would do in your chemistry lab. And those are sort of the hallmark of the instrumentation. And the rest of the instruments are actually ways to look around and decide what would be the best thing to put into your chemistry set.
Just don't blow anything up.
Yeah, no way.
Okay, my question is that what happens if you do find out that there was water in the location? What will you do? Will you just know that's it, or?
Well, yeah, it's an interesting question. We're pretty sure that there was water there, and then now it comes to what was the temperature, are the right minerals there? What it really does is you're trying to establish whether or not life was possible there. And then the next big question, which we can start getting toward, is whether or not anything happened. So one of the analytical instruments inside the rover is able to measure organic matter. So one of the big questions, the real tough thing here on Earth, we don't know how tough it is on Mars, is can we find a place where if there was organic matter, would it be preserved? Is there something there for you to actually see? So that's going to be the big question that we're going to be playing with over the next couple of years on the surface of Mars.
Great. Here's another question.
Once you guys reach your goal on finding out if there was life or if there could be, what are your future plans about it? Like, once you find out, what are your future plans on going back to Mars?
Great question. Really important question. Right now, we're still replanning the Mars exploration program. For some people, myself included, I'm a little disappointed because I can't see the roadmap to the next mission. But we know that those missions are out there, and we know that there are grand challenges waiting for us at Mars. The next grand challenge is called Mars Sample Return, and it involves bringing a sample from Mars back to Earth. Because although we've taken a ton of really smart people and developed these instruments and put all their smarts onto a robot rover named Curiosity sitting down on the bottom of Gale Crater, it's still not as good as having a piece of Mars here on Earth for us to sniff, wonder about, decide to invent a new instrument to look at. And so that's the next big grand challenge for Mars, is going to Mars, carefully picking some pieces of Mars and bringing it back. And I'm hoping that you and some of the guys and girls in the audience will help us do that.
My question is, you know how you guys are saying that she's going to be over there? How are you guys going to bring that piece back if you guys are leaving this one behind? Like, you guys are going to set another one to get a piece of it and bring it back?
Yes, ma'am.
But why are you guys leaving this one behind?
It's a ton. It's huge.
It's not easy getting something off the surface of Mars and back to Earth. In fact, we'll probably take a whole mission, maybe with a rover the size of Curiosity, and then a little rocket on top of her, that will take a little piece of Mars, maybe the size of my fist, put it in the top of the rocket, shoot it off of Mars, collect it from another spacecraft, and fly it back to Earth. It's involved. That's why I say it's a grand challenge. And it's something for us to put our efforts to. Because when we engage in those grand challenges, just like Curiosity, they pay off in the science answers and the inspiration to all of us to do better in our lives. Yes.
If the rover ever tips over, how will it get back in its normal formation?
Good question. Yeah. Good question.
Don't tip the rover over.
That's bad, right? Bad.
Don't do that.
Any other questions? Right? Did you raise your hand? Yes, you did. Here you go.
Okay, so
Take your time.
does that rover send information constantly? Like,
Yeah, Mars is kind of far away. And so for one thing, it takes a fair amount of energy to send a signal all that distance. And also Mars is rotating just like Earth is. And so if you try to do it directly, Mars is only facing Earth half the time of its day. So what we do is we have a couple of orbiters going around Mars that collect the information from the rover whenever the orbiter passes over. So twice a day, each of the orbiters gets information from the rover. And because it's a lot easier to send a signal just to something in orbit than it is all the way back to Earth. And then the orbiters, they have these large solar panels and big antennas. And so for them, it's not that big of a deal then to beam the information back to us. And so because of that, we get a lot more information. Doesn't take as much power, but it's also bracketed so that we only get maximum 2 passes from each orbiter each day. So much of our cadence of how we're exploring Mars is we sit around, wait for the information to come from the orbiter, and then we go, oh, the rover did what we wanted, and here's a new picture. And then the science team spends the rest of the day planning what to do for the next day's opportunity. So conversation is difficult because it ends up taking a whole 24 hours to find out what happened, come up with a new plan, send the plan, and have the rover do that plan and tell us whether or not it happened.
I have a great, a homework assignment for you guys.
Where you
So,
paper and pencil, get it out.
no, it's going to be easy and it's going to be fun. Pick a friend And next weekend, only speak to the friend by writing a note to the friend and putting it in a box. Then the friend and let's say, and you got to wait an hour, and then the friend reads the note. Then they write a note back to you, put it in another box, wait an hour, and see how tough it is to have a conversation. And that's what these guys operating the rover have to go through when they're trying to figure out what to do with her.
Awesome. One more question right here. Here you go, sir.
Yeah, I have a question. My question is that if you were to find water or ice on Mars, would you possibly like create something to like send it to like maybe like the moon of Enceladus or something like to see if life could be generated maybe there too, something like that?
Thanks.
Very good
well,
question.
First thing to consider is whether or not there's life on Mars, because you don't want to infect the planet and ruin it for the Martians. So you want to be responsible, you want to explore safely and make sure that we're protecting Mars from us so that we don't change the planet before we know what's going on. Then the idea of taking life to some other place will have the same kind of ethical decision to make, whether or not, wherever we're taking it, whether or not there's something already there that we might displace. So
underneath your question, I think is a wondering about life in other places in our solar system. And Mars is not the only place that we think life may have existed or could exist today. You met Enceladus. There's also the moon of Jupiter, Europa. We think that that might be the leading place where life might be present today as we sit here talking about it. So in that big list of grand challenges in front of us for you guys to work on, I'll try and help out. But we need all the help we can get. Are things like Mars sample return. It's about going to the surface of Europa to look at that ice, to see what's in that ice. Ultimately, I'd love to get a spacecraft underneath the ice, a submarine into the warm liquid ocean of water under the ice of Europa. These are things that are out there waiting for you guys to go do.
It's easy for Europa. It's only 10 miles or so of ice that you have to go through.
That's right.
No problem.
Hey, guys, I really appreciate it. Let's give them a round of applause. Adam and Mike, great job. And come on in. I want to introduce, before you guys leave, I want to introduce one more person from the flight control team. This is Babek Frajowski.
Yep.
Yeah, I got it right? We got better known as Mohawk Guy, but also he's the one that played the song today for us. So let's give a round of applause for him and the rest of the team in Mission Control. Thanks, guys. You're awesome. All right. Thank you. Okay, next, I mentioned at the beginning of the show that it takes a village to raise a child. And I had a lot of people in my village that helped me become an astronaut, become a chemist, become a scientist, become whatever I wanted to be. But one of the things that we're kicking off today is a partnership, it's a relationship, it's collaboration. And I'd like to introduce will.i.am back to the stage. And I'd also like to bring up the CEO for Discovery Education, Bill Goodwin. Would you come to the stage, please? Okay. And Bill, you want to talk a bit about the partnership with I Am Angel and will.i.am and
Absolutely.
the whole team? I'll just stand over here.
Borrow a mic, 1 sec.
Oh, this one works for you.
There we go. Okay. First of all, what an amazing moment in history we've seen today. We heard a song that will.i.am wrote and beamed it back from Mars. Pretty cool, huh? We also looked back on our first walk on the moon and celebrated a real American hero, Neil Armstrong. Definitely. Absolutely. And then we heard from Leland and the incredibly brilliant people from NASA, right? They built a rover to explore Mars. But there's a lot to explore in our own backyard, Boyle Heights and all the neighborhoods and in our schools. And that's what we want to do, and that's what this partnership is going to be about. Because ultimately, when Discovery Channel was first launched in 1985, John Hendricks, the founder, believed that television could do more than entertain. It could educate, it could inspire. And so that's what Discovery Education is doing in classrooms today. We're trying to transform teaching and learning to improve student achievement. So with Discovery Education, we want to engage students, get them excited about all the subjects we talked about today, STEM. But it's really not STEM, it's STEAM. It's science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So we prepare you, 21st century learners, we give you 21st century tools, so you'll have 21st century jobs. And that's what this partnership's all about. So we're proud to announce that we're going to be partnering with will.i.am, the I Am Angel Foundation, and Discovery Education to bring STEM education to life for millions of students across the country. You're going to hear more about it in September, but we're pleased to be part of it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Discovery Channel and Discovery Education. I just thank will.i.am and I Am Angel for making all of this happen with the song. And I thank NASA and JPL for really putting this fantastic program together. My education director here, Parvin Kasai, is up here in the front. So give her a round of applause. And I'd also like to use your mic. And thank Dave Lavery, too, for helping put this together. Dave Lavery over here in the corner. And I really appreciate the students' questions. You had some fantastic questions. Keep those questions coming. When someone asks you to do something, don't just always question it, but think in your mind, how can I make this better? How can I make something out of my own hands? When I was a kid, I built a skateboard. That was the first thing that I built because my mom and dad didn't have money to buy me a skateboard. So stay curious. With partnerships like Discovery and I Am Angel, we're going to build new things. We're going to send you, one of you maybe, to Mars one day. I think this young lady right here is ready to go to Mars, to grab the rover and bring it back. But just stay curious. And when I talk about these smartphones and these devices that you use, don't just be a user of the technology. Be a developer, and you will win. We will all win. And some of you in this room may cure cancer one day, or you may save someone's life one day, or you may write a song that inspires someone else to do something great and wonderful. So with that, I just want to say thanks again to everyone in the room. Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Henri for helping me with the song and bringing the orchestra together. Thank you, Discovery Education, for the partnership and I Am Angel, and thank you, kids. Thank you guys for joining the I Am First college track program here in Boyle Heights at Roosevelt. Don't just look for a job, create a job. And you're going to create a job by disciplining yourself around STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. We're going to do it. Thank you guys.
When I see the footprints on the moon, why do they say the sky is the limit? When I see the footprints on the moon, and I know the sky might be high, but baby, it ain't really that high. And I know that Mars might be far, but baby, it ain't really that far. Let's reach for the stars. Reach for the stars.